She's sinking financially, trying to take care of this child.
The reason because every time we had sex, I used condoms.
And that's why your court should paternity test. You used a condom.
Exactly, because I spent my money on condoms.
Yeah, I seen in a grocery store, she runs up to me, "Daddy." I'm shocked at the moment, like, wait a minute, Daddy. When I tell you I'm looking for camera out, I was on a prank show or something.
Yesterday we did have sex. That is true. Prior to that, and
Yesterday when you had sex, did you use protection?
yeah.
No.
Iris.
Your Honor, I have no reason to lie.
Here we go, kicking things off with a bang. Miss Foster steps up, barely out of high school, and claims motherhood thrust her into adult life way sooner than anticipated. She's pointing fingers at Mr. Durden, insisting he's the father of her 15-month-old whirlwind, Ian Jr. She's pushing hard for a paternity test to prove it, stressing out over the financial strain of solo parenting. You've got to see what comes next. It's a doozy.
You say getting pregnant at the age of 17 pushed you into adulthood sooner than you expected. You claim Mr. Durden is denying your 15-month-old son, Ian Durden Jr., in the court to order a paternity test so you can prove he is the father.
Buckle up for this roller coaster, folks. Mr. Durden throws back some serious denial, armed with what he claims is rock-solid proof that he's not the dad. Despite Miss Foster's tales of financial woes, Mr. Durden's contributions have been almost nil because, in his words, he doesn't want to bond with a kid that might not be his. But wait, the plot thickens dramatically from here.
Say the court should not order a DNA test because you are 100% sure that you are not Ian Jr.'s father and you have proof. Has Mr. Durden contributed anything at all?
No, Your Honor, he has not. I'm a single parent. Maybe once a pair of shoes when he was a little baby.
Oh, the plot thickens. Miss Foster lays out her exhausting daily grind. Juggling work and parenting is no joke, folks. She paints a vivid picture of her life in the red, both financially and emotionally, while raising Ian Jr. alone. She even brought her bank statements to court to show just how deep in the hole she is. Stick around, because it only gets wilder from here.
If we have children, like I want my son to have my name.
I want to have my name.
Your Honor, he is definitely the father of this child, no doubt.
And you say you're struggling to make, and that's why you're asking this court to order, and you also need help.
Like, my days are long. I call for the babysitter comes, I get ready, wait for the bus to come, get on the bus, come home late nights. He sleeps most of the time, so I don't even get to spend time with him he's not someone I just had a one-night stand with.
Just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, hold on to your seats. We dive deeper into Miss Foster's financial turmoil with a breakdown of her staggering monthly costs, which leaves her sinking further into debt. She suggests that just a little financial help from Mr. Durden could keep her head above water. But don't go anywhere, because what happens next will flip the script.
You would have about $130 left over. Mr. Durden, I mean, the numbers don't lie. Without your contract, this young woman she's sinking financially, trying to take care of this child.
The reason because every time we had sex, I used condoms.
And that's why your court should paternity test. You used a condom.
Exactly, because I spent my money on condoms.
Here's where the drama really heats up. In a tale of love gone sour, Mr. Durden recounts their breakup, sparked by suspicious texts and a selfie with another man that Miss Foster can't explain away. He's convinced he's not the father based on these shenanigans. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for the explosive details coming up next.
We sat down and we talked for him. He just kept eyeing my phone. So when he was eyeing my phone, he took it, he ran in the bathroom, read some text messages that were between me and a guy that
saw a picture.
We were talking on social media. We were on a break, me and Ian were not together. He was someone who was comforting me at the time. It was not anything. We never had sex or anything like that.
I just saw messages with her, and when I saw that, I saw a picture too, actually. She took a selfie with a guy in a car.
As the tension hits a boiling point, Mr. Durden stands his ground on the condom defense, adamant that there's no way he's the father. The judge, however, isn't buying the simple wrap-up he's selling, pushing for a paternity test to cut through the fog of doubt. Brace yourself, because the courtroom is about to get even more heated.
You signed the birth certificate.
Yes.
The child's named after you. Why did you sign the birth certificate?
And it was a problem with the child being named after me. She didn't want the child to be named after me.
So you lobbied for that?
It took her mother and I think one of her friends to tell her it's the right thing to do.
You say this child is not proof, so I don't even have to order a paternity test.
When we was in the hospital room, I didn't really want to embarrass her in front of her mom and her sisters and stuff.
Can you feel the tension in the air? We're served a visual comparison of Ian Jr. and Mr. Durden as babies, and the resemblance is uncanny. Despite the striking similarity, Mr. Durden refuses to see any likeness, stubbornly sticking to his story. But hold tight, the judge's next move is something you won't want to miss.
One is Ian Jr. and the other is Mr. Durden as a child.
Exact same complexion. If you were to remove the names, you would not know who.
Mr. Durden, do you see a resemblance? You don't.
I have evidence right here saying the safety of protection of condoms.
We're doing a condom ad today in this court.
Because
I I applaud you for wearing and practicing safe sex. I do. There is that 2%.
Here it is, the big reveal we've all been waiting for. After some intense anticipation, the paternity test results are in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Durden, you are the father.
Strap in for a wild ride. Mr. Johnson asserts that Mrs. Carr has been weaving an intricate web of paternity deceit with her daughter for nearly 2 decades. He's stepped into the courtroom to drop the bombshell that he's not the father, and he's ready to prove it today. On the flip side, Mrs. Carr is firing back, claiming Mr. Johnson has been evading DNA tests and shirking his paternal duties like a pro. And folks, you ain't seen nothing yet?
You say the defendant, Mrs. Carr, has been playing an emotional DNA game over her daughter's paternity for the past 18 years. You've brought her to court to finally end this game and prove you are not her daughter's biological father. Mrs. Carr, you say that Mr. Johnson has been dodging a DNA test and responsibilities as a father since the day you told him you were pregnant.
You think that was intense? Just wait. Mr. Johnson lays out his frustration with what he calls an emotional roller coaster. Today he's a dad, tomorrow he's not. It's like a soap opera without the commercials. Mrs. Carr counters fiercely, insisting Mr. Johnson has indeed played the father role on multiple occasions. Amidst their fiery exchange, Mr. Johnson throws a curveball by revealing another man was originally deemed the father by a DNA test. Buckle up because their backstory is up next.
What upsets you the most about this?
The lies, the up and down roller coaster. One minute I'm not her father, the next minute I am. A burden with this paternity.
Ms. Carr, you say this is not true, what he's saying.
Mr. Johnson has always acknowledged my daughter.
Her daughter was first born, came to my house, sat me down on my couch, and said that they had a DNA test with another man.
Here's where it gets juicy. The court dives into Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Carr's past, which isn't exactly the fairy tale romance you'd hope for. They weren't sweethearts so much as 2 ships passing, or perhaps colliding, in the night at family gatherings. Mr. Johnson recalls a single steamy encounter, while Mrs. Carr paints a picture of youthful confusion and a surprise pregnancy announcement that had Mr. Johnson packing his bags for Ohio. Next up, we peel back another layer of this paternity onion.
We had sex one time.
Okay.
One time. It was a lot of touchy-feely before, and the one time we had sex, it was wham bam, thank you ma'am.
Oh, that's not true.
Well, do you agree that you had sex with him just one time?
We have had sex
And
more
at
than
some
one
point
time.
you realized you pregnant?
Yes, ma'am. At the time I was young, I was just coming on my menstrual, so brought to my attention that my menstrual late or it had not come on when it was supposed to.
Hold on to your seats because the plot thickens. Mrs. Carr recounts the saga of her pregnancy, filled with potential fathers, and a telenovela's worth of twists. As Mr. Johnson thought another dude was the dad, he checked out emotionally and geographically. The emotional stakes are sky high as both recount the lost opportunities and confusion that followed. But wait, the DNA dance isn't over. There's more testing turmoil on the horizon.
Do you think it's yours? Wait, do I think it's mine? Do you think it's mine is the question.
We never
As she
had the
called.
conversation about I'm moving to Ohio. And
Your
that
Honor, I
was the end
remember
of the
this conversation verbatim. You hear me?
No.
Like, this is something I cannot forget. Crying and snotting. I told my family member after I got off the phone with Miss Carr, I could have a baby on the way.
Nobody else in the family knew about him being a possibility. I had her on the delivery table.
As if things couldn't get more tangled, years later, Mr. Johnson finds himself sporadically in the life of the child, but still dodging certainty about his fatherhood status. He shares a bizarre twist where he was called Daddy out of the blue in a grocery store, a real candid camera moment, minus the camera crew. This incident reignites his quest for a DNA test, but alas, no test materializes. Fasten your seatbelts, because the courtroom confrontations are about to get even more heated.
At one point in time, after her father comes to my house and said that I wasn't the father, I move on with my life. Maybe about 6 years later, I had my first daughter. They see how I'm, so I guess they say, this is your daughter now.
This is not true.
Let me tell you, I seen in a grocery store, she runs up to me, Daddy. I'm shocked at the moment, like, what the, wait a minute, Daddy. When I tell you I'm looking for camera out, I was on a prank show or something.
Prepare for the emotional whirlwind. In the heat of the courtroom, the discussion turns to the profound emotional impact of this paternity puzzle on everyone involved, especially Amber, the daughter caught in the middle. Accusations fly as Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Carr dispute the reality of their interactions and the emotional toll they've inflicted on each other and Amber. You might want to grab some popcorn because Amber's heartfelt testimony is coming up, and it's a doozy.
And all the family like, no, she's yours. You don't need to get a DNA test. And another family member when she was younger. And so I'm just full of
Honor, that's not
emotion.
true.
And even without the DNA test, I started accepting Miss May as my child. I know that I need to, based on what they told me in the past. I'm full-blown father now. Birthday parties, clothes, school clothes. I donated I donated plasma.
Now, from the mouth of the babe herself, Amber steps up with her own memories, or lack thereof, of Mr. Johnson, painting a picture of sporadic fatherly appearances and a lot of emotional absence. Her recount of these pivotal moments, especially her disappointment over her 10th birthday, adds a heart-wrenching layer to the drama. But don't wander off. The DNA results are about to drop, and you won't want to miss this reveal.
That he was my father, and they would show me pictures of him, and oh, you look just like him. And so I was like, okay, that's my dad. And my mother had told me that he was a part of my life, and so I don't have that many memories with. Like, there was this time I called him on the phone, I asked for a birthday. He gave me a false tracking number, and it never came, so I just forgot about it.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, like the final rose ceremony, but with more at stake. The judge delivers the DNA test results that declare,
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Johnson, you are her father.
Here we go, opening with a bang. Ms. Moyet strides into court, determined to prove that Mr. Lester, who is 20 years older than her, is the father of her 3-month-old daughter, Neela. She's not just here for a paternity test, she's also suing for half of the child-rearing expenses, because according to her, Mr. Lester has contributed zilch. Mr. Lester, on the other hand, throws a curveball by denying paternity outright, claiming they were never an item and that Ms. Moyet wasn't exactly monogamous around the time Nyla was conceived. Strap in, because this is just the tip of the iceberg.
You're here in court today to prove that Mr. Lester, a man who is 20 years older than you, is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Nyla Moyet. You claim Mr. Lester has done nothing for your daughter, therefore you're suing for half of child-rearing expenses.
Yes.
That you and Ms. Moyet were never in a relationship and that she had multiple sex partners her time of conception, so you are 100% certain that you are not the father of baby.
Things are heating up faster than a microwave dinner. Ms. Moyet lays out the scant involvement of Mr. Lester in baby Nyla's life, noting he's only provided a handful of diapers and a onesie that was clearly meant for a boy. Oops. Armed with receipts and a list of expenses, she's ready to challenge Mr. Lester's claims that he's been financially supportive. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for his comeback.
Mr. Lester, you haven't done anything for the child?
That's not correct, Your Honor. I bottles and things of that nature.
Did he buy some sleepers and some bottles?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this list of expenses that you've presented to the court, various monthly expenses, formula, diapers, wipes, clothes, expenses total $1,109 in child care expenses. Mr. Lester, you say you've contributed to some of that.
Yes.
Did someone just crank up the drama dial? Ms. Moyet drops a bombshell, revealing she had planned the pregnancy without Mr. Lester's blessing, banking on him changing his mind about wanting a baby. Despite Mr. Lester's insistence that they aren't an item, it turns out their non-relationship includes ongoing unprotected encounters. Fasten your seatbelts. It's about to get bumpier.
When you told him about the what was his reaction, Ms. Moyet?
He was not happy. I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over his house the day I was ovulating. Babe, I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did
Your Honor.
nothing to prevent. To make matters even worse, since I've had Nyla, we still haven't done anything to prevent another one. He's actually even told me. I went to my
Your Honor,
6
we don't
week-
even have sex.
Yeah,
Oh, how the plot thickens. During a fiery exchange, Mr. Lester admits to occasionally skipping protection during their trysts, which blows open the doors to potential paternity. This pivotal confession could tilt the scales in this paternity puzzle. But wait, there's more. The courtroom is about to turn up the heat even further.
Yesterday we did have sex. That is true. Prior to that, and
Yesterday when you had sex, did you use protection?
yeah,
no.
Iris.
Your Honor, I have no reason to lie. I planned this. I wanted to be with him. Still want to be with him.
What she's saying is you were having unprotected sex with her then, and even since this child's birth, still having unprotected sex with her possible father if in fact that sex occurred during the window of conception.
You couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. Mr. Lester is in full defense mode now, armed with a presentation of why he thinks he's not the daddy. He points to Ms. Moyet's supposed liaisons with other men, and even brings props to visualize his doubts. But don't wander off now. The judge's reaction to this circus act is priceless.
My first doubt is when I first met Miss Moyet, she told me her name was Mia. Come to find out her name was Iris. I left her name in my contents as Mia because she was always missing an act. She told me out of her own mouth she had a boyfriend.
Okay.
She didn't appreciate that I wasn't spending time with her and that she has a boyfriend that's better than me. And I asked her, well, why are you calling me tonight?
Cue the dramatic music, because here comes the DNA result everyone's been waiting for. The envelope, please.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's.
Yes. Yes.
Ma'am.
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell you?
You need to be
Didn't I
watching
tell
language.
you?
You won't believe this moment. Mr. Ahmad is on cloud 9, bursting with joy at the news of becoming a dad to little Nevaeh. But hold up, his world flips upside down when there's talk of another potential father. Picture this, a man who's been dreaming of fatherhood, now grappling with the gut-wrenching thought that Nevaeh might not be his. The tension is through the roof.
Mr. Ahmad, you say you were overjoyed to be a father after the birth of your first child, 22-month-old. However, you claim that you were crushed when the defendant later told you another man. You are here today to prove you are Nevaeh's father.
That bombshell dropped hard. Miss Day steps up, claiming she was straight up honest about the baby daddy drama from day one. She throws a curveball, suggesting Mr. Ahmad saw their bond as more of a supportive friendship than a romance. This throws a massive wrench into their already tangled emotional and legal mess. Buckle up, folks. It's about to get even wilder.
That you were honest with Mr. Ahmad and told him from the beginning that you did not believe he was Nevaeh's dad. You plan to another man is Nevaeh's father today. So, Mr. Ahmad, there's a lot at stake for you here in court today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Brace yourself for some serious backstory. Mr. Ahmad opens up about a heartbreaking past experience with a pregnancy, making his current situation even more fraught. Imagine this, a previous ectopic pregnancy that ended tragically, amplifying his hopes and fears about becoming a dad now. And just when you think it can't get more intense, it does.
I've had a situation before where, I had lost a child because of an ectopic pregnancy. This was like my second chance, to have a child.
And it meant a lot to you.
I waited 40 years to have a child. Now I come to find out that there could be a possibility that it's not.
Ms. Day, what is your response to that?
I told him the truth from the beginning, that she might not be his.
Whoa, that was a fiery showdown. Miss Day stands her ground, insisting she never outright told Mr. Ahmad he was the father. Meanwhile, Mr. Ahmad thought he was signing up for a committed relationship. Their clashing versions of their relationship and the child's paternity agreements come to light. Hold your breath for what's next.
Well, I need to talk to you. And she says, well, I'm pregnant and this is your child.
No, I didn't say she was yours. I said she might be yours and she might not.
So you're in a relationship, you think you got a girlfriend. You're saying now, Ms. Day, I really wasn't in love with Mr. Ahmad, but he was we were having a sexual relationship. He looked after me and I needed somebody to look after me at that point. You all move in together after that?
We never lived together.
This segment is a game changer. The spotlight shifts to the birth certificate drama. Miss Day claims Mr. Ahmad went rogue and signed it against her wishes, sparking a debate about their communication breakdown. These next details are make or break.
Was he present as the father of this child at the hospital?
He was present, yes, he was. But he was present because he wanted. I asked him not to sign my baby's kid until we get a DNA.
You asked him not to sign the birth certificate?
Yes, until we knew that
Why would you let somebody sign a birth certificate?
I didn't let you. You did it on your own.
The hospital get the information from you?
No, they asked, was he the father? And he told them yes.
Did you see that twist coming? The courtroom dives into social media posts where Miss Day gushed about Mr. Ahmad as the dad during her pregnancy. These posts throw a wrench in her previous claims, hinting she might have fueled Mr. Ahmad's belief in his paternity. Stay tuned, things are heating up.
It says, Happy Father's Day to my child's father. Even though she's not here yet, he's already amazing. He takes damn good care of her. I'm proud to call him mine.
So,
that was before she was born.
Yes.
So let's go to the next post. Happy birthday to my baby daddy. I love you, baby. She looked just like her daddy right here.
Meet the wild card. Enter Mr. Flowers, the other potential father. He admits he might be Nevaeh's dad, but kept his distance due to the uncertainty, a stark contrast to Mr. Ahmad's active role. You can cut the tension with a knife as we inch closer to the DNA results.
You've got them both on a string. If you truly believe Mr. Ahmad is not her biological father,
I don't call him. I barely ever ask him for anything. Mr. Flowers is my best friend, and he's always been there before.
Wow.
Does this testimony surprise you, Mr. Ahmad?
I don't know this man. I'm out of this situation now, and my main deal is, what is the paternity of my baby? I say she's my baby.
The moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA results are in, and they drop a bombshell. Mr. Flowers is the biological father of Nevaeh. This revelation shakes everyone to their core, reshuffling responsibilities and emotional connections. The fallout from this is unmissable.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Flowers.